back a ways now. Sir John Crosbie was the first to set up a major business. His father moved from Scotland in the 1850s, and then they ended up in Brigus, and then Sir John moved from Brigus to St. John's and set up the Crosbie Hotel, and his brother had Clovelly Farms, which was growing foodstuffs for the hotel and that. So that was sort of the start of it, and then he got into the insurance business and got into shipping and fishing and all kinds of other opportunities. Whatever came up, I think he was willing to take on, which tends to be a bit of a family trait. And when he died, he was 57 years old, and Ches Crosbie took over from him, and he continued to grow in the insurance and modernize the shipping business into steel ships going north, as well as in the fishery and the seal hunt and other opportunities. And then Ches died when he was 57, and my father took over at that stage, and I think Dad at the time was about 33 years old, and he expanded the business. He got into Eastern Provincial Airlines, got taken public. They got into Robinson Blackboard printing. They got into the fishing business in a bigger way. Big construction business, Newfoundland Engineering Construction, which built a lot of the main infrastructure for the government. And then Dad passed away when he was 57. So 57 was a bad year in our family. And so then when Dad took over, or Dad passed away, then I came back to the business in 1991, which was probably a tough time in the economy. That's the oil and gas business was going through the throes of the Gulf pullout of Hibernia, and everyone's efforts to try and get that back on track. The fish moratorium was about to be enrolled, and that didn't help people. And interest rates were at a fairly high level. I think, if I remember correctly, we were into a significant recession, and there wasn't very much money around. So we looked at Hibernia as how can we get involved, and we felt the best way to get involved was through partnerships and to bring over companies here that could that had experience in the offshore that could help us be successful. So we formed two significant partnerships. One was with Salamis Marine Industrial, which was at the time owned by Maersk, and the other one was with ASCO, which is the Aberdeen Service Company, which is supply basis. And we availed heavily of the programs that Hibernia was putting off in order to do supplier development. They had a lot of workshops. They were very engaged with the business community to try and get them to understand what services that they're going to need, and that you actually did need to have skills and partnerships that could bring those skills and technology transfer, which was, I guess, the buzzword at the time. And there's a bit of funding available for companies to go out and form those partnerships. I think it's obvious that Hibernia was a pivotal project to get infrastructure in place that would make other projects easier to come to fruition. So I think if you didn't get in on Hibernia to start, and if we didn't put a serious effort in, then the chance of getting the other projects would be reduced significantly. So we put just about every effort we could into making sure we were successful on Hibernia, which worked out. But it's it's been almost 20 years now of a enjoyable, more cash that's not government cash ride, and it's for the companies it's been a great growth for us. I think the most important attributes of a leader for me is someone who's going to listen, who's going to be patient, will support the people that are working with you in what they're trying to achieve. I like saying to my leadership team is I like to see people fail in a safe environment. So I think if people are going to grow, I think they need to have their radar tuned in, so that when there's danger, they feel it. And the only way you get radar, I think, is to have some failures. I think the industry in eastern Canada or offshore Newfoundland, I think Nova Scotia has some promise as well now, but the industry is at an exciting time and also a troubling time. I think the work that Nalcor has done on the seismic is very valuable to attracting more players here and or enticing the players that are here to invest more. And I think that's a crucial role for government to play is taking away that highest risk first seismic activity. And I think they've done a great job with that, so it's shown up the potential. I think the risks of the industry are still quite high as far as it's a very high cost environment. There's a limited number of players around the world that can afford to be here. there's a limited number of players around the world that we want to be here, because if there's an incident, they have to have a big enough balance sheet to clear up the incident. Construction in general, construction, which is another area we're in, is quite quiet. And that would be normal, I think, in a time of uncertainty, that people will hold back plans. So it's a matter of digging harder to get more business, and a variety of business that other people aren't doing, in order to maintain ourselves until the cycle turns again, which is likely going to be a couple of years away. And on the oil and gas side, we've renegotiated contracts with all the clients, providing cost savings. We're looking internally as to how we can do things more efficiently. We've invested in IT around our human resource systems, that to be more efficient, and tying together how we do our invoicing with how we deliver the people logistics and training. And so all these avenues of efficiency are being investigated to try and get our overhead costs down, so that we can be more cost effective and still make some money in an environment where the clients are all looking for ways to cut money, because cut costs, because they're not making any money. And I expect that this will be a couple of years, and innovation and internal looking as to what you do is key to being successful over the next few years. I think in order to create an environment where the investors want to put significant numbers of dollars here on exploration in order to develop an industry of the future, I think a couple things need to happen. I believe the governments need to bottom out the regulatory regime and actually deliver on some of the smart regulations that they've been talking about. 5 years from now, well, Hebron will be out and operating. I think that's a given, because they're pretty committed to it. The Husky Wellhead platform hopefully will be going ahead as a wellhead platform rather than as subsea. So I think that's a much better recovery and royalty regime, or royalty revenue base for the province. And I expect Bay du Nord will be significantly progressed. And my wish would be is that there's 2 or 3 drilling units out doing raw exploration and not delineation drilling, and bringing on the next series of projects that need to come into play. That the province is debt-free, and that they actually take some of the royalty money, instead of wasting it, they take it and pay down our debt, and relieve the next generation of the burden of having to pay huge percentages of their revenue on debt servicing. I've talked to a lot of people about equity in the projects, and I believe it's an error for the province to have equity in these projects until they're debt-free. So you're taking 2 bets. One is, when you invest with cash, you're investing that you're going to get a return on your cash. When you invest with debt, you're betting that you're going to get a return that's larger than the cost of your debt. So I think you're really increasing the risk to the province by starting to invest debt, and then 7 or 8 years later, after the construction is finished, you're going to start getting some money back. So I think your rate of return profile is much more difficult. And when we were on a trip in Norway, and we were talking to the Norwegian Petroleum Director, they were talking about strategically investing in certain fields, but not investing in everything. So they would invest in fields that they felt it was important for them to be part of, because it was either opening up a basin, or it was a large asset that was going to provide cash flow for many generations.